employed at any racetrack in the world as the historian of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He has an amazing, again, story, just briefly, how he, in 1964, had been saving money for years to come over from England to visit the Speedway for 3 weeks in May of 1964, and then came back permanently the year after that, and has just had an amazing career as broadcasting and writing about the race. And just want to mention that on May 27th of 2010, Mr. Davidson was inducted into the Auto Racing Hall of Fame, and on October 3rd of 2013, he was also honored by the Indiana Broadcast Pioneers Hall of Fame. And in 2016, last May, the Indianapolis Star proclaimed him one of the 100 most influential people in the history of the Indianapolis 500. And then on May 20th of last year, Governor Mike Pence named him a Sagamore of the Wabash, which is the highest honor the state of Indiana can bestow upon a civilian. So please join me in giving a very warm welcome to our guest, Mr. Donald Davidson.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everybody, and thank you all for coming out. This is a great group. As soon as we walked in the door at 11:30, we thought, whoa, this is bigger than a lot of the groups that we speak to. And I've been to Lafayette, I don't know how many occasions. In fact, I think this is either the third or fourth time this year. And I was up here just a couple of weeks ago at the Tippecanoe Fairgrounds because there was a marker unveiled to memorialize George Souders, and who won the race in 1927 and was born and raised in Lafayette, and Roscoe Sorrells, who finished second in 1921, and that name probably doesn't get bandied around as much. He was the runner-up in 1921, born in New Albany, but he also, the two of them, along with one of the greatest press agents of all time, Steve Hannigan, they all went to Lafayette Jeff. And I thought Roscoe Sorrells, unfortunately, was fatally injured shortly before George Souders came on the scene. But Souders had been I didn't know this till quite recently, he was the class president of his 1 year at Lafayette Jeff. And Steve Hannigan, a happy dollar? Oh. And then Steve Hannigan was 1 year ahead of him. And I assume they knew each other, but how amazing that George Souders wins the 1927 Indianapolis 500 in his first start, and Steve Hannigan was the PR guy. And so here are the two of them, and they both went to Lafayette Jeff. So anyway, there's a permanent marker there that went in, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, and we were up here for that. I didn't mean to go on that for so long, but did you say Speedway Christian Church?
Speedway Christian Church.
Yes, okay. I was married in I'm going to have a private conversation with this lady for a couple of moments. My wife and I were married at the Methodist Church, but I've got we're going to, we have some tickets to, I would say, give out, but that's probably a little misleading. We have some tickets, not 500 tickets, but we've got for the road race that's on May 13th, and then for the first week of qualifying, we've got some tickets that we're going to give you the opportunity to win with trivia questions. This isn't one of them, but can you name, I'm putting on the spot, an Indianapolis 500 winner who actually was married at Speedway Christian Church? Two-time winner. That's not fair, is it? Roger Ward. Roger Ward was married there and was frequently there on Sundays when he wasn't racing. Anyway, the reason we're here is I've been traveling around with Mike Harmless, the gentleman with the bow tie, former mayor of Greencastle. He's the man who's credited with saving Greencastle after IBM moved out. The town was either fell on hard times or was about to, and he came in and saved the place. Anyway, we travel around together to give talks, and in fact, I think this is our 41st that we've done since February the 8th. and I've done some on my own. We actually did a breakfast this morning that doesn't count towards that. So I'm up over 50 talks already since February, and he's my chauffeur, business manager, valet, and everything. He won't let me drive. But anyway, we've had a lot of fun traveling around and talking to groups, and it's very rewarding because everywhere we go, there's great interest in the race, and so we'll get to Q&A in a little bit in the time that we've got allotted. But just to make everybody aware, and I'm sure you already were, that the 101st running of the Indianapolis 500 is coming up, and it's pretty unique because it's the one only original Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's not Riverfront Stadium or White Sox Park where they knock it down and build another one, or not necessarily in that order. It's the one only original Indianapolis Speedway, and the 500-mile race has been held every year since 1911. With the exception of the 2 world wars. So now it is, we got to the 100th anniversary of the first running. We had the 100th running, and then when that was over, they said, well, what are we going to do next year? Well, we had so much fun and got so much feedback from what we were doing, going out and talking to the folks, that they said, let's just do it again. So we're talking about the 101st, and we're about done with that, and then we'll have to figure out what we're going to do next year. But anyway, so there is an exhibition in the museum, which is just actually still coming together. It was officially opened a couple of weeks ago, but there's still cars coming in. A tribute to A.J. Foyt, this being the 60th consecutive year that he has been a participant. He first drove in 1958, and you're going to say, well, wait a minute, this is 2017. Count them up on your fingers. This is the 60th consecutive that he's either been a driver or a car owner or both. And so there's 500 cars, but there's sprints and midgets and stock cars and sports cars and a variety of other vehicles that he drove that I won't go into now, but it's a great exhibition. In fact, there's a championship dirt car that he finished second at the Hoosier 100 with twice in 75 and 76. That just arrived a couple of days ago because Tony Stewart, who's a big Foyt fan, purchased it off a fellow in Toledo, Ohio, Jerry Niemeyer, and Tony Stewart and his dad trucked it in and unloaded it and rolled it in just a couple of days ago. So we had to quickly write a sign for that. But anyway, that will go through the 3rd week in October. And so let's see, probably maybe we should even get started on doing something with these tickets. And if you've got do you have a 5K walk or something that's coming up on Saturday, May 13th?
Yes.
There's a race at the Speedway. What are you doing? So anyway, so what we're going to do is give you the opportunity. I'm going to, we'll be doing 5 of these, and I will pose a trivia question, and we're going to ask you, rather than call out, if you would raise your hands, and then we'll keep going until we get somebody with the correct answer, and then Mayor Harmless will give you the opportunity to choose either 2 tickets for the Indy Grand Prix, which is the road race for the Indianapolis cars that will be on Saturday, May 13th, or you can have 2 tickets for qualifications for the 500. We don't have any 500 tickets. We're not doing that, but we're doing qualification tickets, and that will be good for either Saturday, May 20th, or Sunday, May the 21st. And was going to do a little bit of Q&A. What you didn't know was that I was going to be asking the questions and you're going to give us the answers. So let's just try one of these. A pretty general one to start off, all right? There's a great piece of trivia here. There have been, so far, 763 different drivers have driven in the Indianapolis 500 at least once. 763 in 100 runnings, okay? So the question is, don't call out, but raise your hand, please, if you can tell me how many drivers with the surname of Smith. How many Smiths drove in the 500? Raise your hands, please, if you think you have the answer. I haven't seen a hand in the air yet. I see a lot of grins. All right, in the back. One is not the correct answer. Yes, sir.
4.
No, 4 is not the correct answer. Yes, ma'am.
0.
0 is the correct answer.
On our anniversary, May 20th.
Oh, well, that's the first qualifying day.
Yeah.
So, what a great way to celebrate your anniversary is go to qualifications. Oh, what I should have said, no, I have a little fun with this. That's a great piece of trivia, but it's true. There have been 9 drivers by the name of Jones, and only 2 of those were related. And there's been Halls and Hills and Johnsons, and there's been one year there was 2 different Guerreros drove against each other in the same race, and they were from different countries. And but there's never been a Smith. And also, we should have put another disclaimer on here. If you grew up in Speedway, Indiana, you're not allowed to answer any of the questions. But I was surprised. Normally, a lot of hands go up because that's becoming quite a well-known piece of trivia. But over the years, whenever a Smith has, there's been Smiths entered, and whenever one materializes and somebody says, oh, that'd be great, there'll finally be a Smith in the 500, I'd say, no, that is not great. That will ruin the greatest piece of general interest trivia that there is. So I'm going to do another one here. This one will ramp it up a little bit. And then again, please don't call out, hands in the air. In 1935, the honorary referee was a student counselor at Purdue University that came down and served as the honorary referee. So hands in the air, please, if you could tell me who was the honorary referee down from Purdue, student counselor for the 1935 Indianapolis 500. Hands in the air, please. Yes, ma'am. Amelia Earhart is the correct answer. Well, there you go. There was the thing that is because some of you were probably thinking men, and all this was about no women in the pits up until the 1971 is baloney. She's front and center in the photographs, and honorary referee. She didn't have any duties, but she was there with her husband, who was George Putnam of the publishing firm. And there's a panorama that was taken on race morning for years, with the drivers and riding mechanics and officials all are spread across, just like a military, or like some schools and colleges would have these wide photos. And she's sitting on the track, not even on a chair, but she's sitting on the track with Eddie Rickenbacker. So no women in the pits, 1935, she's there. Why was she there? Because Rickenbacker said, it's okay. So, this is totally off the wall, but I love doing all these little tangents when I have an opportunity. If you study the photographs of those panoramas that went every year from 1911 through 1957, from every year, I think from 1926 until 48, there's a little trivia if you look carefully at the photograph. And it is that those panoramas were taken, the camera would be on a tripod up on the back of a little truck. And although everybody appears to be standing straight across, they're actually in a semicircle. And then the camera was on a motorized winch. And so they would just say, all right, hold still everybody. And then the camera would actually do a sweep of the crowd, and it would take about 12 seconds, I think, to do the complete thing while everybody stood still. And then this huge, long negative, when you see the print, that was actually the size of the negative that would come out. So the reason for all that mentioning is that when they said everybody hold still, there was one fellow that did not hold still. He would wait for the process to begin, and he would count about 2 or 3 seconds, and then he would leave his position at stage left and run around behind the camera and be there to appear on the other end. And so anyway, he did that for all of these years, and raised in England, there were actually, my school photograph every 3rd year was that process, and once in a while somebody would decide to do that, and a number of high school and college kids got expelled for playing that trick, but the director of timing and scoring did it for all those years. And if you look very carefully, I think it's either 48 or 49, you look for him on the right-hand side of the picture. He's a little hard to find because he's a blur. He's put on some weight. He's not running quite as fast. And he needed another second or two to get in place there. But all right, let's see. All right, any questions from you? We've got a few minutes here, and then we'll go back and do some more tickets. Yes, sir.
I know you're asked this all the time. Did you, during the race broadcast, you're constantly asked questions that only you seem to know the answer to. Do you get advance notice of those questions, or are you really...
You're very kind. If you're talking about the night program where people call in with what used to be stump questions, and then we've developed it over the years to tell anecdotes. Because if you're talking about on race day, I just will do some commentary from time to time. Most of the time I'm looking at the scoring monitor. I could look out the window and see the track, but I spend about 95% looking at the scoring monitor because I'm a big stats freak. But if you're talking about when people call in and say, what year did Gene Hartley finish 6th, 8th, or whatever it was, no, I don't have advance notice of that. In fact, I was, as technology increased, and I had the opportunity to know what the questions were, I did not want to know. And when I first started out doing this, the forerunner of it was 1966, but when I first started to do what it has now become the talk of Gasoline Alley, it's a nightly show on 1070, which has changed its call letters and been sold 3 times and had like 12 program managers, but we're still on 1070. It used to be WIBC, and that moved to the FM side. Anyway, when we first started out, I actually used to sit with a telephone, and the host for the first 3 years was Chuck Riley. I don't know if anybody remembers Chuck Riley with Afternoon Drive on WSA with this incredible voice. And so I would sit there with a phone, with a handset and the push buttons, and he would say, "Okay, Donald," and he would either tell me what line to pick up because all the lights would be flashing, or I would just simply pick one, and I would take the question cold, right on the air, and we didn't use the 7-second delay until somebody said a very bad word one time when I got the correct answer, and so then they put the 7-second delay on. But anyway, so as the years went by, and this is more radio stuff than probably what we should be talking about the track, but they will actually screen the calls, and they'll say, yes, where are you calling from, what's your name, and what do you want to talk to Donald about? And they take all this information during the break and then put it up on a screen. And so in the early days of doing that, they said, we want to say, and now we have Joe on the line or Fred on the line. And I said, I don't want to do that because it makes it seem as if I've been tipped off to what the question is. And so so I have a host with me now. Sometimes I do it solo and sometimes not. But anyway, I don't want to know what the subject is. I actually decline to know that, except that when we are coming excuse me, coming down to like, they'll say, when we come back, we've got 2 minutes before we have to get out of it. And we've got several questions here. Do you want to do the history of Novice, the history of turbines, or is Joe Blow still alive? And I'll say, I'll take the last one because I can answer that one quickly. And, so that the old joke is, all right, we've got 2 minutes. I think we've just got time for one more call. Yes, could you tell me about the complete career of A.J. Foyt or something? But anyway, thank you for asking. It's available to me, but I prefer to not know it. I just take the question blind. Yes?
You just mentioned turbine engines?
Silly me.
Silly you.
Next question, please.
What do turbine engines have to do with the 500?
Nothing.
Oh.
Next question, please. I don't like talking
Young
about
guy.
just a young guy. All right. Now, so you see, I never learned, do I?
No.
I've just painted myself into a corner. Yeah, they had turbine power cars at the track for a few years, and it's not my favorite subject to talk about, but yes, they had them. 67, and Andy Brenatelli was at the STP Corporation. There were a number, only 4 ever qualified, 1 in 67 and 3 in 68. But anyway, again, not my favorite subject to talk about. Yes, we're way in the back.
Thanks for being here.
Okay.
I am a fan. But anyway, okay, Andretti family and the A.J. Foyt family.
Yes.
Who is the Andretti getting close to the number of times being at race and competition with Foyt, or I'm just wondering longevity.
You mean, I'm not sure, do you mean like with total number of starts?
Well, what I'm looking for, Foyt's been there for a number of years, the longest. Is Andretti catching up to him, or?
I don't think you can.
Well, I don't know how to answer your question because A.J. Foyt, if you're talking about driving in the race, A.J. Foyt had 35 consecutive starts, and Mario had 29 starts. They were not consecutive. Foyt has had 2 grandsons. Actually, one is legally his son, and they just had like 4 or 5 apiece. But Mario's son, Michael, ended up, I think, with 18. I'd have to count them up on my fingers. And then there's Michael's son, Marco, who is surprisingly, not only, I mean, this to me, Marco's a kid that's brand new on the scene. He's driven every year since 2006. Now, to me, that's recent, but count them up on your fingers. This will be his 12th consecutive start. And then there was Michael's younger brother, was Jeff, and then there was John Andretti, who was the son of Aldo, who's Mario's twin. And so that's an interesting situation because Michael and John are very close. And John puts it down to, he said, although we're first cousins, because our fathers were twin brothers, we feel that we're closer to brothers than cousins. But anyway, I'd have to count up the whole lot. There's no more Foyts in the foreseeable future, but, Marco, it will be around for a little while. And then I don't know, if Marco's kids or if there's other Andretti kids. So I can't really answer your question except to say that it is pretty amazing the number of relationships and the fact that there would be a 500 driver who has a son. That's not that unusual. And in fact, relationships, and I was just asked this earlier in the day, when was the first occasion on which brothers drove against each other in the same Indianapolis 500? Well, that would be Bill and Harry Endicott in 1911. There was brothers in the 11, and the number of winners, people that have won the race that had a brother in the field. And second generation driver, The first time that a driver drove in the 500 that could say, my dad drove in the 500, that was 1937. So the number of families, if you like, it's probably 35, 40. We better give out some more stuff here.
And by the way, the mayor's here.
The mayor is here. Oh.
Hey, Tony.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
In fact, the mayor was when we did the dedication for George Souders and Roscoe Soros.
And I got to see you last year speak down at the track. So
Indeed,
I appreciate
for the
it.
breakfast.
So I
Yeah.
apologize for being late, but it was for a good reason. Today was the National Day of Prayer, and I had to do that from 12 to 12:30. So, but I certainly wanted to get over here while you were in town. And
Oh,
thank
sure.
you,
Thank you very much for
being
coming.
here. This is a great group of people right here.
By,
Great
I don't know if I gave you the message. He can't make the breakfast this year. Did I tell you that?
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay then.
Yeah, I talked to him.
Be right back with you. I got a mayor thing to do. All right. Thank you for coming.
Yes,
So that's
my
an
pleasure.
honor.
Thank you.
All right. We better do. Should we do?
That's Purdue Engineering,
NASA?
NASA.
Yeah, okay. All right, here's one. See how we do with this. How we doing here? Golly, we're 3.5 minutes away from bell clang. Okay. All right. There was an Indianapolis 500 driver. Drove in more than one race. Well educated. Had previously applied for the NASA space program, but was turned down because there wasn't sufficient education. So think for a moment, raise your hand, don't call it out please, raise your hand if you can give me somebody that drove in the Indianapolis 500 who had been an applicant for the NASA space program and was turned down.
Got one.
Rick
Yes.
Mears.
What is it?
Rick Mears.
It is not Rick Mears. Yes ma'am.
Mark Donahue.
Not Mark Donahue. But Mark Donahue is probably the most popular. Wrong answer. That's a good one, but no, it's not Mark Donahue. You raise your hands, please.
I was sure.
Oh, we got to get
I
something
was
here.
sure that somebody here would get this.
All right, to broaden your horizons a little bit. You're looking in the wrong place. God.
Must be a Purdue connection if he's
Yeah.
asking.
Who was the referee for the honorary referee in 1935 from?
Amelia. And
And
who's connected with Amelia Airport?
good grief.
They're not gonna get us.
It's not a me.
There was a folk singer that had the same surname, but they weren't related.
When you tell us this, we're gonna go, oh.
Of course you
I
are.
will go call Donald Davidson.
No. All right. No, come on. I'll give you the clue. The 1935 honorary referee from Purdue.
That's the same gender.
That's Amelia Earhart.
Oh, wait.
No, it wasn't Amelia Earhart. They didn't have the NASA space program. But that's the clue. Yes, ma'am.
Janet Guthrie?
Janet Guthrie is the correct answer.
Well,
Now, what do we do?
She already won. I mean, you.
I know she already did, and we normally ask, do we have a judge? And yes, we do. And that's.
Oh, we do.
And she ruled that it's okay to
Yeah,
more than one, because she could give it to
Okay,
a
well, I'll
friend
go
or
ahead and
something.
use that.
Or give a qualification, she can go on Saturday and Sunday. Right?
Make it
No, it's Janet Guthrie. We have a lot of fun with that, and some people go right to it. And Arlo Guthrie was the
other
clue that I just was the awful clue that I threw. All right. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. I've got a 1 o'clock meeting, but I
Right
want
on.
to
Thank you for
say
coming.
hello.
Thank
See you,
so
Mayor.
much. All right, golly, I'm at 12:59 now, and we got how many more tickets we got? Mayor?
We've got 2 sets of Grand Prix.
All right then. All right, let's see.
Ten.
Go five.
Okay, all right, 10 more minutes? Okay.
Court can't start
Good.
until I get there, so.
All right.
Excellent.
All right. Raise your hands, please, if you can tell me who was the first driver to turn an official qualifying lap in excess of 150 miles an hour. All right, way in the back.
my Jim Hurtubise.
It was not Jim Hurtubise, but you're in the right neighborhood. First to turn an official 150 mile an hour lap, and they did it on all 4 qualifying laps. The year was 1962. What is it?
Bill Vukovich?
No. Vukovich was long gone by then. Yes, sir.
AJ?
It was not A.J. Foyt. It was not Roger Ward. You're right in the neighborhood. Won the race once and should have won it about 3 or 4 times in a very short career.
Mario.
What did it?
Mario Andretti?
Was not Mario Andretti, no. 1962. Yes, sir.
Jones.
Parnelli Jones is the correct
Sweet.
answer. Did you tell him that?
I just suggested it.
Oh. Okay, but you didn't think it was appropriate to win 3 prizes? Okay, very good. All right, we got 1 set left. All right, who was the first driver to turn an official qualifying lap in excess of 200 miles an hour? No. All right, first driver. Who was the first driver to qualify to have a qualifying lap in excess of 200 miles per hour?
I was listening that day.
Yes, sir.
Al Unser?
It was not Al Unser. Kelly, we ought to try something else here.
Mario?
It was not Mario. He was a school teacher, assistant high school principal at one time.
Oh.
Pacific Northwest.
They're going to have to
Great.
bone up for next year.
I was listening that day, but.
Should we do something else?
Yeah, I would.
Running out of material here. I was using all that. Yes. All right. Dario Franchitti. That's a little more current. The answer, by the way, was Tom Sneva. Dario Franchitti, 3-time winner of the 500. All right. Dario Franchitti. Raise your hands, please, if you can tell me what is his nationality. Brazilian? No.
No.
Somebody that hasn't won yet. What was Dario Franchitti's nationality today? Yes, sir.
Argentina?
It is not Argentinian, no. Good grief.
America?
No. Yes. What is it?
Italian?
It is not Italian, no.
Oh.
Right.
Much closer to home.
Yes, ma'am.
Much closer to you.
Sweden?
What is it?
Sweden?
Sweden?
No.
No. I think that's the first Swede that we've had, right?
Canadian?
Canadian?
No, not Canadian. Golly, we better do something. I thought that was an easy one. What's the answer, Judge?
Scottish.
Scottish! Right, very good.
There you go.
All right, now we're going to do something really easy. Golly, that's going to be really easy. Yeah, all right.
Laura might be your replacement.
Okay, all right. All right. Can raise your hands, please, if you can tell me who was the first driver to win the Indianapolis 500 4 times. First 4-time winner. Hands in the air, please.
AJ.
Oh, that'll do it. Yeah.
That'll do
all right.
it.
Yep. Okay.
There you go. Wow.
How many four-time winners have there been?
There have been 4 4-time winners. There's no, 3. I'm sorry. I was thinking something. A.J. Foyt, and then Al Unser and Rick Mears are the 4-time winners. I tell you what, we've actually gone past the official bell clanging time. In fact, the mayor came in and couldn't wait any longer and had to leave. We'd be happy to go on a more informal basis. We had a pretty full day. We did a talk in Indianapolis this morning. We went to WASK. We came and did this. We don't have another gig now until 4 o'clock in Indianapolis. And then we got to leave there, and Johnny Parsons' son is riding with us. We're going down to Rushville and doing a function tonight with Tony Stewart. So we don't have to leave here until what, 2? So we can go if you want to do some more.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Tell us what your prediction is of the future for women in driving in pipe.
Well, I typically don't do predictions, and I would say that as far as the future for women in the 500, there have been a total of 9, which may surprise you. There have been 9 women, and if there was to be a winner, And a lot of people will, you know, maybe, you know, jeer and make not necessarily complimentary comments, but Danica Patrick had a great record at the Indianapolis Speedway, and she actually finished 4th and led the race as a rookie, and was the only female so far who has led laps. And then she kind of was flying under the radar a little bit, although with all of the publicity that she was getting, her performance on the racetrack kind of was under the radar. And she finished 3rd in 2009, and people don't seem to remember that. She had 7 starts in the 500, and 6 of them were a top 10 finish. Now, there's been a lot of drivers with names that you would remember from the 50s and 60s that had no top 10 finishers, and she had 6 out of 7. And then there is another piece of ironic trivia. I mean, there's all kinds of goofy trivia about the Indianapolis 500, and the very fact, you know, that Dario Franchitti is Scottish. How about this? There is currently 1 lady driving in the 500. 1 lady entered this year that's run the last couple of years, and what is her surname? Man. Pippa Mann is the only female driver that's running right now. But I'm sure that there will be, you know, a number of women coming along, and as far as would one win, I mean, there's always that possibility. I don't do predictions, and the best I can give you is a very corny, we'll have to wait and see.
Well, maybe we'll kind of close. I do want to present you with a special gift from Kiwanis.
Well, thank you very much.
And then let Jim maybe close the meeting, but then if others want to come up and talk for a bit, that's
that will be fine. And thank you for having us up here. And if you don't have a chance to get down to the track, you know, on race day, you might want to try Steam Radio, because we're still doing it, and there's got a huge audience, and so anyway, bless you all for coming here, and maybe we can come back and talk to you again sometime. Thank you.